So we live in a world, man, where we look at our country and we feel like it's so fragmented, especially people in the evangelical world, like myself. We look at it and we look back on the yesteryear and we think, man, things used to be so much better. People used to have more of a belief system, and culture used to seem like there was more shame in the world, and it seems like there's not. And so a lot of times what we do is we look at our country and we look back at the history of our country, and we often say, well, man, like our country. This is what you'll hear people say. Our country was founded on Christian principles. Our forefathers believed in Christian principles, and they used the Bible to form much of the things that we find in the Constitution and the Declaration and things. These lots of biblical themes there, and that's true. They did. But here's the thing: is that for an evangelical to say, "Man, our forefathers, this country was built on Christian principles." That's right, and it's good, and I understand what's being said there because I believe that. But what we're doing when we say that is we're looking at what's wrong and we're pointing back to what some other people in another time did. And we're banking on that as the argument for what's wrong with the country. And so what I would submit to you is this question: what was the church doing during that period of time that the result was that the leaders of the people in the country that was being founded were investing in documents that have been incredible documents that have allowed incredible history to take place in America? What was the church doing that was yielding those kind of results in men and women? Because I would say that as much as it's true that our country was built on Christian principles, the reason it was built on Christian principles is because the church was doing something to impact the culture, and the culture was following the leadership of the church. And I like what the Lord has impressed upon me and my own ministry is that it's about the word. It's not like you can be creative, you can be, you could be fun, you could do all these other cool things. You can use methodologies to bring people in, but your primary objective as a minister leading in the church needs to be to preach the word as you hear it from the Lord. That's what yields the results that shifts the culture. It is a word from heaven that comes into the heart of a minister who's received a call to go and lead a flock and preach and teach them the way the Lord has instructed us to live. And so I fear like what has happened is the thing that has shifted is the church at one time was shaping the culture, and now the culture is starting to shape the church. And so I say this, like you could say, well, he's just anti, he's just being sort of anti, like he doesn't believe that you could be creative. Listen, what I'm being is transparent. What I'm telling you is that the Lord called me to preach, and I was able to preach the word from the time like that I understood that, and I preached the word. And I'm telling you that I led a church that grew, and I started to get more caught up in creativity than I did the creator. And there was momentum that came from it. And if you're not careful, you will start getting really creative with all of your sermons series, that it's going to be, you're just catchy and trendy, and you start developing marketing and how will this reach people and how can we help them that way. And we start thinking about the things that we see where people need help, and we start crafting ways to teach them so that we can help them. Again, our intentions are great, okay? I've walked that out. But what happens is we start running on our own fuel and less on the fuel of heaven. Our primary objective as ministers of the gospel is to hear from the Lord and let him direct us in his word and help us see what we need to see so we can say what we need to say, and all of the people, including ourselves, can do what we need to do. So when we look at the culture and we go, man, our culture is falling apart. Our country was built on Christian principles. Let us stop and reflect for a moment and ask ourselves, why did the founders believe in Christian principles? It's not a returning to the principles to the people on the outside of the church. It's making sure that those of us on the inside of the church are living out the very principles that we think will shape the culture. And so it's just kind of a road I've walked the last decade, man. The Lord has taught me a lot of things, and I want to be careful in. And I would encourage you, man, like, it's something we need to think about. We need to quit looking back at how victorious they were 200 some odd years ago and start thinking about how do we become that victorious right now. And it won't start in Washington. It'll start where you sit on Sunday morning.